I work the night shift at the Boston Archives. Today, I found my replacement's obituary from 1995. Have you ever heard silence that has weight? Not just the absence of sound, but a dense, cotton-like mass that presses against your eardrums until you want to scream just to check if you haven't gone deaf. That is exactly the kind of silence that fills the basement of the Boston Public Library at 3 a.m. My name is Sarah, and I'm an archivist. Sounds boring, I know. My job is to digitize decaying newspapers from the 1920s, feeding them into a massive, perpetually overheating scanner. I sit 2 floors underground in an old brick building that smells of centuries-old dust, ozone from the machines, and my cold coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. I love order. I am rational. I do not believe in ghosts. But what happened tonight made me question if anything around me is real at all. It all started with boredom. The monotonous hum of the scanner was lulling me to sleep. I was mechanically scrolling through microfiche, tiny images of newspaper pages on a glowing screen. Boston of the Roaring '20s, Prohibition, gangsters, ads for miracle tonics. And then the scanner jammed. The tape skipped forward, jumping several decades. A page from the Boston Globe lit up the screen. But the date was different. May 1995. I reached for the scroll wheel to wind the tape back, but my gaze caught a familiar face in the obituary column. My heart skipped a beat. From a black and white, grainy photograph, Mark was looking at me. My relief. The same Mark who relieves me every morning at 7, jokes about the weather and chews on a sesame bagel. The same nose with a bump, the same horn-rimmed glasses. Name, Mark D. Sullivan. Date of death, May 12th, 1995. Cause, accident in the city tunnel. I laughed nervously. The sound of my laughter sounded pathetic in the empty hall. Very funny, Mark, I whispered. Great Photoshop. You got me. I tried to convince myself it was a prank, or a coincidence, but the mole above the left eyebrow in the photo was identical. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. The microfiche screen hummed quietly, emitting a deathly green light, and the face of dead Mark seemed to grin through the film grain. I needed water. Or something stronger, but there's only a water cooler in the archives. I got up and headed to the break room. My footsteps echoed loudly off the concrete floor. I pushed the door open, and reality showed its first crack. My favorite red mug, which I had left by the sink 10 minutes ago, was standing in the center of the table. My jacket, which I hung on the back of the chair, was turned inside out. The sleeves dangled like empty intestines. And on the table lay a yellow sticky note. On it, in my handwriting, my damn handwriting, it was written, "Don't forget to close section B, Sarah." I grabbed the paper. My fingers were trembling. I didn't write this. I definitely remember not writing this. Okay, calm down, I said aloud to myself. Check the cameras. I returned to the security post, which was combined with my desk. I rewound the footage 10 minutes. On the screen, in the black and white grain of the surveillance camera, I saw the break room. Here I come into the frame, but something was wrong. The fluorescent light in the video flickered, creating a creepy stroboscopic effect. The me in the video moved jerkily, unnaturally fast, like a broken doll in stop-motion animation. The me walked up to the table, violently turned the jacket inside out, wrote a note with broken hand movements, and abruptly turned her head directly at the camera. The image hissed with static. I felt sick. This isn't gaslighting. This is insanity. I needed to get out of here. To hell with the job. To hell with the fines. I grabbed my bag and ran to the elevator. The call button didn't light up. I pressed it again and again, hearing only empty clicking of plastic. Damn it. I dashed to the stairs. The door was locked. My keycard beeped with a red diode. Access denied. Hey, anybody? I screamed, pounding on the heavy fire door. Silence swallowed my scream like water swallows a sponge. I was trapped.
I had to return to the main archive hall to try and find another exit through the emergency subway tunnel that connected to the building's old foundation. I entered the hall and froze. The shelving units in Section B, massive metal shelves on rails that move using rotating handles, they had been rearranged. Before, they stood in neat rows. Now they formed a chaotic, angular maze. The aisles were narrow, dark, leading deep inside where the light of the duty lamps didn't reach. Dust hung in the air, a thick, dense suspension illuminated by the orange light of the emergency exit. The air seemed to have turned solid. And then I heard it. A cough. A dry, barking, senile cough. It came from the depths of the shelving maze. "Who's there?" My voice cracked into a shriek. "I'm calling the police." I rushed to the service phone on the wall. The dial tone was there, but it was strange. Long, sluggish, with some sort of gurgling undertone. I dialed Mark's number. I needed to hear his voice, to confirm the obituary was a lie, that he was alive, that I was just overworked. "Hello?" The voice in the receiver was sleepy and annoyed. "Sarah? Sarah, thank God, it's Sarah. There's something weird going on at the archives. The doors are locked, someone moved the shelves." "Sarah?" Interrupted. "Which Sarah?" "Sarah, your relief!" The pause lasted an eternity. I heard only static crackling on the line. "Lady, I don't know who you are, but I haven't worked at the city archives for 10 years. Ever since they found that guy down there." "What? What are you talking about?" The call cut off, but there was no dial tone. Instead, a quiet, rhythmic sound came from the receiver, sounding like a distant, stifled laugh. I dropped the handset. It hung by the cord, swinging like a pendulum. Ahead, between the shelves of Section B, a shadow flashed. I squinted. That was no ghost. Ghosts don't wear boots with peeling soles. From behind a rack of 1930s documents, a figure emerged. It was an old man. His face was hidden by a matted gray beard and layers of dirt. He reeked so badly the smell reached me even from 30 feet away. A mix of unwashed body, rotting teeth, and old paper. But the scariest part wasn't that. He was wearing an archive employee vest, old style, the kind they wore in the 90s. On his chest hung a badge stained with something brown. He held a box cutter in his hand. The blade glinted predatorily in the gloom. He is not a ghost. He is a squatter. In my head, everything clicked into a horrifying picture. The missing food, strange sounds in the ventilation I blamed on rats, things changing places. He lives here, in the walls, in the old tunnels, for years. He rearranged the mugs, he turned the jacket inside out. He wrote notes mimicking my handwriting, studying me from the dark. He thinks he works here, that he is the head archivist. The old man raised the knife and ran it along the spine of an old book, making a nasty scraping sound. "Violation of order," he wheezed. His voice sounded like crunching gravel. "Section B is not closed." He took a step toward me. I ran. I flew into the server room, the only room with a reliable lock. I slammed the door, turned the latch, and slid down the wall to the floor. Outside, heavy thuds rang out. He was slamming his body against the door. "Open up," he said, but not in his own voice. He said it in my voice, a perfect imitation of my tone, my intonations. "Open up.
Mark is waiting for you." Then the light in the server room flickered and went out completely. I was left in total darkness, lit only by the blinking diodes of the servers. I clamped my hand over my mouth to keep from sobbing. The noise outside stopped. Silence returned. That same heavy, cotton-like silence. And in this silence, I heard a quiet clank of metal behind me. Above, under the ceiling. I slowly raised my head, though I couldn't see anything. The sound of a bolt being unscrewed. Clink. The bolt fell to the floor somewhere near me. The ventilation grate. It was large enough for a person to crawl through, and it went straight to the corridor where he was. Or, oh God, the grate wasn't being unscrewed from the outside. It was gently removed from inside the server room. In the darkness, right over my ear, came a warm, moist breath. The smell of rot hit my nose. "Silence in the library," he whispered.